Every great sitcom builds a world you can't wait to revisit. But sometimes, a single character shows up and throws the whole vibe off balance. Here are 10 sitcom additions that pushed loyal fans to the brink, ranked from dud to disaster. Number 1. Ted McGinley as Jefferson Darcy from Married with Children. Let's go back to 1991, when Married with Children was deep into its primetime run on Fox. By season 5, something seismic hit the Bundy household. Ted McGinley's debut as Jefferson Darcy, the gold-digging, ever-lounging second husband to Marcy. Gone was the neurotic, dryly sarcastic Steve Rhodes, and in strolled Jefferson, a handsome, perpetually unemployed schemer who seemed to spend more time perfecting his tan than tackling any real responsibility. The show's early blue-collar bite, its offbeat commentary on marriage and masculinity, started to soften. Jefferson's punchlines rarely landed with the same oomph as Steve's subtle digs. Critics caught on fast. They pointed at McGinley's arrival as the moment when Married with Children turned from subversive satire to wacky, anything-for-a-laugh sitcom. The phrase, "jump the shark," began circling, and McGinley himself became a pop culture symbol for shows past their prime. He even embraced the label, joking in interviews about his knack for showing up just as a series fell off balance. For die-hard fans, the Bundy spirit shifted. What once felt like a jaded look at family life now danced a little too close to parody. Still, Jefferson's smirk and surfer vibes are forever stitched into the Bundy saga. You can almost hear the distant canned laughter and the groan of an audience watching the Bundys lose just a bit of their bite. Number 2. Cousin Cody from Step by Step. The clang of tools in a suburban Wisconsin garage and the whiff of pizza rolls. Suddenly, there's Cody Lambert, crashing the blended Lambert-Foster family in Step by Step. Introduced in Season 2 back in 1992, Cody wasn't just a drop-in cousin. Played by Sasha Mitchell, he became a core member of the household nearly overnight, lugging his surfboard and slinging endless dude and chill-out catchphrases, even as he parked his beat-up van out back. At first, Cody's wide-eyed naivete and slow-witted charm provided a fresh foil to Frank, Carol, and the rowdy kids. But as weeks rolled on, his repertoire rarely grew beyond the dense surfer shtick, every episode bringing more boneheaded jokes and less believable storylines. It didn't take long for frustration to seep in among longtime viewers. Step by Step, once a clever patchwork of family antics, veered squarely toward the outlandish. Blame gravitated toward Cody, whose perpetual cluelessness often hijacked the plot, leaving the show's family heart sidelined. As ratings drifted by the mid-90s, the writers had to pivot, reducing Cody's appearances and trying to reclaim the show's original dynamic. Still, for anyone who tuned in after a Friday night Little Caesars run, Cody's drawl and headband are impossible to forget. A reminder that sometimes a sitcom jumps its own shark right in the garage. Number 3. Emily Waltham. Beneath the cozy glow of Central Perk's orange couch, every new face had to pass the ultimate test: chemistry. Yet in 1998, a whirlwind arrived alongside a certain British accent. Emily Waltham, played by Helen Baxendale, entered as Ross Geller's love interest in Friends' 4th season, sweeping Ross off his feet and stirring fans to debate. At first, Emily brought a fresh spark, whisking Ross away to London and launching the memorable double-episode wedding. But her rigid, anxious energy never clicked with the rest of the group's playful banter. Co-creator Marta Kaufman later admitted that Emily's presence simply didn't mesh with their dynamic. Audiences agreed. Message boards and water cooler chatter overflowed with gripes about her controlling rules and constant ultimata. When Ross famously blurted out, "I take thee, Rachel, at the altar," the damage was irreparable, both for their relationship and for the show's breezy ensemble vibe. By mid-season 5, the writers took swift action, cutting Emily's arc much shorter than originally planned. Fans exhaled as the main six reclaimed the spotlight, but for a brief stretch, Emily nearly upended the soul of the show. In faded reruns, you can still feel the tension every time the phone rings from London, a reminder that sometimes a little disruption lasts much longer than the storyline itself. Number 4. Janice from Friends. That laugh, impossible to ignore even behind closed doors. Janice Littman-Gorelnik first burst into Central Perk in the first season of Friends. Her signature nasal laugh and high-pitched "Oh my God" marked instantly for sitcom legend status. At first, Janice, played by Maggie Wheeler, offered a side of pure comic relief against Chandler's dry wit. But as Friends weathered its massive success through the 90s and into the early 2000s, Janice seemed to pop up whenever things got slow, often as a desperation move during slumping rating sweeps. Producers leaned in, giving her more airtime in later seasons, even weaving her into bizarre cameos like when she ends up in the same maternity ward as Rachel in season 8. Audiences grew divided. Janice's jokes, once quirky and fresh, became the setup and punchline all in one, leaving fans dreading, not anticipating, that shrill greeting. She was the rare sitcom character whose judicious overuse made her the butt of the joke off screen too. Still, it's impossible to erase her from the show's DNA. She's sprinkled across 10 seasons, echoing Chandler's worst dating fears and Friends' fearless embrace of recurring gags. Like getting an unexpected phone call from an old co-worker, Janice reminds us that too much of a good thing can sometimes be, well, too much. Time to turn the page. Number 5. Stephanie Tanner from Fuller House. You can almost hear that old "how rude" echo through the living room, but Stephanie Tanner's grown-up return on Fuller House felt more forced than familiar. As a little sister in Full House, Stephanie brought spunk and a believable awkwardness, winning hearts in the original run from 1987 through 1995 on ABC. Fast forward to 2016, and her reappearance in Netflix's Fuller House tried to recapture that lightning, but the spark was missing. Her quips were dialed up to 11, every entrance a punchline in waiting. Instead of feeling like a true extension of the character, Stephanie was written with layers of try-hard quirkiness, every episode piling on references to her childhood catchphrases or nudging the audience with heavy-handed nostalgia. Loyal fans hoping for a grown-up version of their childhood friend instead got plot lines that felt patched on, stories bent to fit around old jokes instead of letting Stephanie grow naturally. The real charm, the hesitant confidence, the earnest missteps, got lost in the writer's scramble to wink at the past. By the final season in 2020, many longtime viewers found themselves missing the simpler, sweeter Stephanie of the original show. The laughter felt more canned, the moments less genuine, but for just a flicker, if you closed your eyes, you could still remember her in those scrunchy-filled dance routines the way she was, not the way they tried to bring her back. Let's pause for a second. When you think of sitcom revivals, do you cheer for old characters, or do you wish they'd stayed in the past? Share your favorite or least favorite comeback in the comments below. Number 6. Scrappy-Doo from the Scooby-Doo Show. Thunderous paws and a chirpy catchphrase crashed into America's living rooms in 1979. Scrappy-Doo wasn't just another cartoon dog. He was Hanna-Barbera's answer to sagging ratings for Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Inc. Gang. Standing a fraction of Scooby's size but puffed up with reckless courage, Scrappy zipped into nearly every episode with his infamous battle cry, "Puppy Power!" The writers dialed up Scrappy's ego, letting him barrel headfirst into danger and steal center stage from the characters you actually tuned in to see. The formula was meant to latch onto younger viewers, but for longtime fans, Scrappy's relentless bravado and squeaky confidence proved overwhelming. For the first time, the cozy mystery chills gave way to slapstick and shouting. By the early 80s, the show's tone felt unrecognizable. Even its animation shifted as budgets tightened and scripts revolved around the pup's antics. An outsized chunk of time went from ghostly reveals to Scrappy's bravado causing chaos, turning the haunted house atmosphere into a kiddie brawl. Within just a few seasons, murmurs of Scrappy fatigue swept through playgrounds and TV critics alike. In the years that followed, referring to a new character as the Scrappy of a show became an industry in-joke for any late addition who ruined the formula. Today, you can almost hear the collective eye roll anytime Scrappy's name pops up. But his legacy is undeniable. Even the most beloved shows can lose their footing with just one pint-sized misstep. Number 7. Ann Veal, Egg from Arrested Development. Few sitcom characters are remembered quite as faintly as Ann Veal, or as Michael Bluth would say, her. Introduced as George Michael's girlfriend on Arrested Development, Ann's forgettable, almost invisible presence became the joke. Repeatedly called bland, even dubbed egg, by the Bluth family. But what started as playful mockery morphed into something else when Ann lingered across seasons 2 and 3. Each time she shuffled on screen, the show's trademark momentum seemed to stumble. Ann's milquetoast dialogue and presence often acted as a comic dampener, sapping that sharp-edged Bluth energy. Cast first with Alessandra Torresani and then by Mae Whitman, she was never meant to be magnetic, and yet her extended storyline stretched the joke perhaps one season too far. Even creator Mitch Hurwitz has acknowledged that Ann's scenes could drag down Arrested Development's rapid-fire wit. Still, her lack of charisma was oddly meta, a nod to those moments when a show can't resist its own running gag, and sometimes pays a price. Flickers of George Michael's awkward devotion, coupled with family bewilderment at Ann's appeal, were meant as lampoons. Yet, as Ann became a more permanent fixture, the balance slipped. Today, the memory of Ann Veal floats by like an unfinished mayonnaise sandwich. You remember the joke, but the taste was always a little off. Number 8, Seven from Married. With children, you could almost hear the collective gasp when the Bundys opened their door in season 7 to find little Seven on their shag carpet. In 1992, Married with Children's producers tried to shake things up by introducing the pint-sized orphan, hoping he'd bring new energy to the show's wild, irreverent spirit. Instead, fans got forced gags, awkward punchlines, and a character who just never fit. Seven, played by Shane Sweet, wandered into a world where the Bundys' dysfunction was already a perfected recipe, and if anything, his presence watered it down. Even the actors didn't bother to hide their discomfort, and by mid-season, Seven vanished as mysteriously as he appeared. No tearful send-off, no elaborate explanation, just gone, as if the Bundys' living room simply absorbed him. Viewers of the early 90s still trade winks about Seven's disappearance, a punchline about the perils of tampering with sitcom gold. It's a chapter that proves sometimes the best additions to a family are the ones you never make. As you remember the Bundys' couch and Peg's red hair, you can almost picture that empty corner where Seven briefly sat and wonder what happened after the credits rolled. Number 9, Cousin Oliver from the Brady Bunch. The sunny groove of the Brady Bunch had its own rhythm until in late season 5, a bespectacled new face popped up at the dinner table. Enter Cousin Oliver, played by Robbie Rist in 1974, who arrived with a bowl haircut and a pocket full of forced, aw, shucks charm. Brought in as Carol and Mike Brady's nephew, Oliver was meant to inject fresh energy and childlike wonder, just as the original Brady kids were getting a bit too old for jungle gyms and secret clubhouses. Instead, he ended up magnifying exactly what viewers were starting to feel. The magic was gone. Every line felt slightly off, each clumsy sight gag even more desperate. Within 6 short episodes, it was clear Cousin Oliver didn't belong, and fans recoiled at the obvious attempt to recapture an innocence the show had outgrown. Yet, there's something unforgettably awkward about Oliver's mismatched attempts to bond with Greg, Marcia, or Alice. It's as if the Brady house itself bristled at the intrusion. The fallout was so notorious, TV guides coined the phrase the Cousin Oliver syndrome for any last-ditch kid character shoehorned into a floundering show. In the end, the Brady Bunch wasn't saved. Oliver became a footnote, but a legendary one. Sometimes, as the final credits roll, it's the cracks in the facade that tell you the golden years have truly slipped away. Number 10, Nikki from Saved by the Bell, the new class. The Bayside Bell echoed differently in the early 90s, especially when the new class attempted to bottle the original magic. Enter Nikki Coleman, played by Bianca Lawson, whose crusades for social justice in the show's first 2 seasons made the hallways feel more like a civics class than a sitcom. With Nikki, each episode seemed to pause for a mandatory lesson. Whether the group was meant to protest cafeteria policies or campaign for recycling, her activism often landed with a heavy hand. It wasn't that Nikki's heart wasn't in the right place, but her serious tone clashed with the goofy antics and snappy, light-hearted rhythm that had defined Bayside High. Audiences longed for the effortless chemistry of Zach and Kelly, but Nikki's earnest lectures slowed the pace and left little room for the light banter viewers expected. The reaction was swift and cool. Ratings for the new class trailed behind the original, and as cast shakeups rippled through those early seasons, the pilot dropped in 1993. Nikki quietly exited after just 2 years. Her well-meaning intensity just didn't mesh, and fans were left missing the easygoing charm that once made Saved by the Bell must-see TV. Sometimes, a sitcom's best moments come when no one's trying too hard. As we move forward, let's remember how a single character's tone could flick the switch from pure fun to awkward lesson, changing Bayside High forever.